Well, it is recording. I don't know if you know that. You can see it up there. My disclaimer, I'm in my living room now, and so it's not as, yeah.
Oh, it looks homey.
It looks homey. We don't have any artwork on the wall, so it's very kind of blank back here, but that's fine. I like it. It leaves room for imagination.
Yeah, it does.
Um,
So what are we doing today, Emily?
You had a wonderful post on the Memer page that I think needs to be discussed in detail.
Yeah, I was thinking really hard and long because I was part of another discussion in some group on Facebook, and it came up how we see the horse in our work and how we see clients and also how we see ourselves. And I think because there is such a confusion in the field of how to come together, and but also how to or accept diversity. So as I see it, we need to define what we actually are doing. So are we doing equine assisted work? I think some people are doing some kind of horsemanship assisted work. And that is something totally different.
And I would argue part of that is because there's a lot of people in this field who come from a horse background and that's all they know how to do. So all they're doing is taking this skill set and applying it over here, when we really have to ask, what exactly is the skill set? What are we doing here? Like, what's actually going on? And is that something that we actually want to bring into this field over here? But people have a tendency not to start to dissect what's going on.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I think they are more aware of where they come from, like I'm doing Gestalt, or I'm doing CBT, or whatever, psychodynamic, or I'm a coach, or I'm doing this kind of mindfulness or yoga, whatever. So that they are aware of, but that they have a similar background on the horses, like I am doing traditional English riding, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing horsemanship, natural horsemanship, or what am I doing in this field with the horses? Mm-hmm. Because then suddenly this get mushed together with the horse, as if the horse is only this that they are doing with horses.
Yeah.
So the horse, we keep on talking like, the horse is just a horse and all this, but he comes with all this other stuff with him, and he didn't put himself there. We do.
Yeah.
So somehow that's added layers of lenses that there is very little awareness of, I think.
Yeah, in fact, I would argue that most people in the horse world don't even know they're aware of lenses on one scale, but it goes way deeper than that in terms of, most of them don't even think, or no, I can't, that's generalization, I shouldn't say that. A lot of people in the horse world, they do things because they were taught to do that, and sometimes they're given a reason, sometimes they're not, in terms of why. If they start asking why, then people come up with various different reasons in terms, especially when it comes to the dominant submissive kind of stuff. Horses naturally need to feel like they have a leader, and you have to be the dominant leader in order for them to feel secure, or for them to be able to understand, or whatever it is. And therefore it's like, oh, all right, well then what ends up happening, as you and I talk about a lot, is that we start doing all of these things in horsemanship and all of this, and we justify it based on this belief over here, whether it's a conscious belief system or not. But the problem is very rarely does anybody actually question this belief system.
No, and we have been talking about that also. That is not based on studies on horses.
Exactly.
That's based on studies on horses in very small environments, very small samples, very like domesticated in our backyard or riding school horses. They are so highly trained and kept in environments that that's not natural to them at all. And then we think this is a typical horse. And then we based what we do with him on what we actually have created ourselves.
Yeah, or people have this, let's say I'm somebody who has had, horses in the past. I read things about horses. I have my horses in my backyard, and this is what I see, and therefore this is what I believe based on what I see. And some of what I read, you know, justifies what I see. But is that horses, or is that just my lens on horses? And so my one example of that is my neighbor. You know, I had my horses in my backyard for a while, backyard being many, many acres, as you know, because my neighbor came out and was adamant in explaining to me that horses destroy the earth, and that they tear up all the grass, and that they're going to make everything a mud pit. And we had a very short conversation, because it wasn't like this was an actual conversation. It was more of, you know, somebody telling me their own ideas and I needed to understand. It was basically based on the idea that his entire life of horses has been with horses in these small paddocks. And of course they're going to eat it down to the ground. Like, horses are not meant to live in these tiny paddocks, and it's going to become a dirt pile. But that's his, so he decided that because of all his experience with horses in those conditions, is that is how horses are.
Yeah.
And it gets back to that, you know, that correlation is not causation. This is not a, you know, randomized sample. This is not a good understanding of horses. Is his experience and knowledge in whatever field important? I believe that everybody has good, you know, good knowledge and experience to bring, but we have to question, okay, we have to start questioning, like, where's our knowledge coming from? And really asking the right questions.
Yeah, and I do think so too. And I think everybody's voice in this is important. We all have some aspect that we can add of this, and we have experienced something that could be useful, and we have read something or taking a class or whatever. But if we also, all of us can like stop a little bit and ask ourselves these questions, and because now what I see in the field is that we want to decide what is right, and we want to name everything. So we decide that now we can call this equine assisted therapy or whatever. And then everybody needs to go under that umbrella. But still we are somehow keeping all the diversity, but it can't be shown because everybody needs to unify under this. And I think that's part of the problem, because diversity for me is to let everybody be who they are and speak from where they come from, and not judge like that's bad or that's good or that's right or wrong or whatever. We all need to find out how we want to do this work, and we can each support each other by sharing knowledge and by like asking questions. What do you want to work with? What do you want to do? What views on horses do you have, and what do you want to learn more? And keep on doing this. Now there is so much judgment, like, yes, horsemanship is the way we should like incorporate in the equine assisted field, and it is supposed to be done like this. And since it somehow helped me, I have now decided that this is the template for everything that we should do. And that really shuts down any conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I like to run. I can't run right now because I hurt my hips, and those were put on a delay, but I like to run. It makes me feel good. It's a stress relief. I get outside, and therefore I think everybody should run. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. Even if you don't have any legs, or doesn't matter. Oh, that's the right way.
Yes, that is the way. This is the only way.
Yeah. And I see some of the stuff that I see in particularly natural horsemanship that is based on treating horses. It's inherent in their ideology, like how they see horses. So, and we have this dominance, submissiveness, and the hierarchy, and the need of a strong leader, and that I can learn to speak horse, and then I can teach the horse to understand when I speak horse, and basically telling the horse that the way I speak horse is much better than yours.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like a competition.
Yeah, and it's like, so you actually take away the voice from the horse, and you have this view that your you're above because you are the leader and the horse should respect you and he should be taught. And sometimes I've seen really aggressive ways of teaching the horse to stay out of my space and all this.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, it could be, you need to be really assertive and all that. And then I hear, on the other hand, that this is really good for traumatized people to come to this kind of practices. And therefore they are learning how to be more assertive or take more charge in their lives or stuff like that. And all I can see is this: we teach people how power over another being is the way out of your own powerlessness. That makes me very sad.
It does. And it also undermines all of the other things that we need to be enforcing, or not enforcing, but helping people recognize in terms of the parts of communication and respect, not gaining respect, but giving respect as well. That balance of communication and partnership that, and it's not, it needs to, yeah, and that confusion of, like you said, is power over, is that the same as empowerment?
It isn't, because power comes from within. My empowerment needs to come from me. It doesn't come from what I do towards another being. So, and we have spoken about that, and we do in our trainings, like empowerment is inner power, and it's also power with, like you're not power over, but if you collaborate with someone, there needs to be an equally shared amount of power to work as, to actually be a partnership.
Yeah.
So me with my trauma background, when I see stuff like this, my reaction is that this is re-traumatizing. This is putting me in the same situation as I was from in the beginning, when people tell me I need to take power over someone else, or I otherwise am a bad victim and I'm putting myself in a victim position and all this, which is not really helpful at all.
No, that's not going to help with any level of trust or social engagement. And it's basically that victim or Viking mentality, and constantly either on the offense or defense. And that's,
yeah, and it's also it's similar to the way people are treated in the legal systems or in some treatment places, and this like we want to help you, but we were going to help you by having power over you, and then you feel even smaller. Like we can push people out of from a victim position by push, block, draw, whatever we think we can do with them, so they will somehow snap out of their victim role and be more assertive. And I am thinking, like, people who go through these programs, they will walk into life thinking that the way to feeling more empowered is by having power over another being.
yeah.
So I will make the horse do, I will decide, I will choose for the horse, I will even voice the horse, and I will say the horse feels this and that, and I can speak to the horse in horse language. So there is nothing left of the horse anymore.
No, we've taken away the voice at that point.
Yeah, and it's also like you bring up in our trainings, like we could equally well use a wheelbarrow or something. If it's only about manipulating around something.
Yeah. And what's even worse though is like, yeah, we can manipulate something, but if we're taking that manipulation and then actually putting it in a live being, that's
super super hard for me to hear about and watch, and that people think this is the way out of helping people.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of issues about this, and I also think I have tried to bring this up in different situations, and then I often get to hear that my own views, that I cannot understand how good this is because I am seeing this through my trauma lens. So because I see beings not being heard and having agency and being able to voice themselves, I am projecting my own trauma onto them. I don't understand how good this is, which is again actually pushing a view onto me, saying, no, you feel wrong, you don't see correctly, you don't understand this, making me even smaller. So as a provider in this field also, there is no equality in listening to the voices in the field. I think it's a shaming tactic, and it's blaming. I'm not at all comfortable with having these discussions in settings where not everybody can be heard on equal terms.
And it's really, really unfortunate because the more voices we have in any field, the better off we are to learn and grow and be challenged. And especially in such a young field as this, it needs that. So it is unfortunate.
And also seeing how many different training modalities that are out there, and they all teach their kind of method, and often it's like very manualized. It's like 1, 2, 3 different steps, and you do this, and then you do this activity, and you will get this result. And the people who want to attend and want to learn about this, they will take these trainings, and there will be no questions asked, and there will be no like discussions, and this is just how you do it. And that's why we have taken the approach we have in Mimir, Emily, with being model independent and science-based in what we do. Because I think, again, like if we can't meet and have these discussions, nobody will really see. Nobody will have an overview of what goes on, and see that we cannot learn from each other, and we cannot influence each other, inspire each other. We cannot ask each other questions. We're stuck.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be like, I know how to do this, so you should listen to me. And then another one, I know how to do this, and you are wrong, and we should do like this. And it's like, instead of stepping back and saying, okay, what are we doing? How can we come together and help the whole field and help all of the people who want to be in it, finding their way of doing it.
Yes.
As long as they believe in what they do and they have good reasons and they can explain what they're doing and they have a concept that they base it on, it's fine. I'm not judging any choices here. I'm just, grab a horse and throw them into whatever, and you have equine-assisted therapy, learning, whatever. And it's not no, simply no.
Yeah, and a lot of the people who I've run across in this field at either various different trainings or facilities is horses. I feel good when I'm around horses, and I've been in this field, whether it be breeding, training, horsemanship, whatever. They will then just take people and put them in that same context and expect that they're going to get the same result. Without actually knowing what's going on. What is it about this? What is it about what's going on? How is the horse feeling? Or like, what's going on with, why?
Yeah, why did you choose to put a horse in this setting? What are you doing? What are you expecting to happen? How did you plan this? There's just this intuition of, hey, bring in a horse, as you say, because I feel good about horses, so everybody should feel good if we are. And I know much from the horse, and the horse is basically my therapist and my teacher, so therefore it's good for everyone, like you're running. I've been thinking, like, perhaps also people feel powerless in their own lives. They can't really affect much, but when they go to their horses, they are suddenly the leader, the dominant mare or whatever. They are the provider, they are the everything for the horse. So they feel empowered by that situation.
Yeah.
Not seeing it's still a power over.
Yeah. Like, I don't think people go in with that mentality. I really don't think most people go in with this concept of, I'm going to be, some people do, don't get me wrong. Like, there absolutely are. But I think a lot of people think that they're having this partnership when really it's very much a manipulating behavior, it's power over, but they're told that this is
called connection.
Exactly.
Partnership. And a lot of things. It's so beautiful, and it's a dance, and it's a soul.
And horses need to be dominated. This is how they interact. This is how they communicate.
They do really poorly. It's the same view. I kind of like, also probably women need to be a little bit more dominated.
Yeah, it's like it is, and it does not go well with any part of our society at all.
No, it's. I think it's an outdated view on what a horse actually is.
Yeah.
And there is not much interest in finding out because we like it the way it is. So therefore we don't ask these questions. And we name the horse. We talk about that in our trainings as well. Like, he's predominantly a flight animal.
Yeah.
So we name a whole species by a stress response.
Yeah. And then we call them, because they have brains the size of a walnut and they don't have connection, they're therefore dumb and need to be told what to do because they can't figure it out for themselves.
Yeah. So as I see it, we create a lot of concepts around what a horse is and what equine assisted things are and who we are in this field. And then we base everything we do on that without looking at those concepts.
Yeah.
It's like, is this actually what I think is good for people coming to me who want to grow?
Yeah.
So, but then I really love to have these discussions. You and I, we talk about this all the time, and our colleagues in Mimer and people coming to our trainings, and we keep this alive, and we have this all the time. But it would be so beautiful to have it with different providers, with different people in the field, in a less heated, not so defensive, and open discussion.
Yeah.
And it saddens me that we it doesn't look like we are there.
Yeah, I know.
It seems that our force is working in our field that is countering this somehow.
Yeah, and I would argue that that's because they're justified. This is their thing. They need to justify it. They need to protect it. They need to do whatever, and so they're just gonna fight for that. But that does it inhibits growth.
I totally get that. I'm just asking for the discussion.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Respectful discussion. I'm not asking anyone to change anything. I'm not saying I have any answers to give them. I just want to have the opportunity to ask the questions and have the discussion.
And I think that is, and it is sorely lacking, especially in this field. I get the feeling it's because people, like, it's not like what they're doing in this field, their model or their activities or whatever it is physically that they're doing. And then they have the, their providers and the horsemanship and all the things that kind of feed into that. And then below that is that fundamental belief system.
Yeah.
And so when we start to ask questions that trickle below this, like into here, that would then just undermine everything they do. And that is like, no one wants to go there.
No, it's uncomfortable space and place to be in.
Yeah.
They're looking at ourselves but there is such potential for growth for all of us.
And really, I have, and you and I have been at multiple different facilities in multiple different countries.
Yes.
And it is not a big shift in terms of, like, you don't have to overhaul your facility. You don't have to, like, spend a whole lot of money to change the way that we're interacting with horses in this field. It's not like we're asking people to build a $200,000 indoor arena because that's going to do anything. It's about recognizing what we're doing and just changing the way that we look at things and interact.
It's opening of a mind. It's like, perhaps we ask them to consider changing their mindsets, not replacing it with our mindsets, but finding other ways and taking in more information and basically open up to step outside how they usually see the horse and just walk a little bit to the left or to the right. Mm-hmm. We make people do that in our trainings, as you know, and see what they see from another perspective. Like, if you're over here, what do you see then? It's like, is it still the same horse or do you see something else? And also putting yourself in the hoof of the horse, or how to say that, like,
Yeah.
you are
Yeah.
a horse and you would like to have your agency and your voice and choices. Is this what you are providing?
Yeah, and I this is a huge thing, at least for me, when I, when I'm learning about models that talk about how to build interpersonal skills or relationship skills via working with a horse. Well, if we're actually planning on our client using this same skill set with humans, put yourself in the horse's position.
Yep.
Is that type of interaction you want your client to be having with people?
Yes.
Like,
good question.
And typically it starts to bring up lots of other questions.
Yeah, and one of them is like, when I as a client enter this space, I will look at the providers and how they interact with the horses. And even though they say partnership and connection and pacing process, doing this in your own, whatever, you have the choice and all this, but what they show me with how they are with the horses is not something totally different.
Yeah.
And I am aware enough, I pick up things because, yeah, but people are, even if you pick it up and you are not aware that you do, you're still picking it up and you will go with this confusion. Like, one thing is said and named and another is shown.
Yeah.
And how do you build trust in that environment?
You don't. I mean, that's really hard.
It's super hard. It's super hard. And I understand this, like, if you work with a horse and you have a client coming and the horse says, nah, I'm not up for it today. And then you have a paying customer. And what do you do then? Are you comfortable with thinking on your feet and coming up with something that is good for everyone in this? Or are you adamant because you took a training that said, step 1, step 2, step 3, you do this, and otherwise you don't get this beautiful result over here?
Yeah.
Then you will not be able to accommodate for everybody's welfare in this. You will just like do this, very narrow-minded. And so, yeah, I don't know, Emily, I really appreciate that you wanted to have this conversation with me today, because it was a lot on my mind. And we talked about continuing meeting and just share what we talk about in different ways. And now we just dove around in millions of different things. And I'm not sure there is a red thread in what we
But there is. I mean, there really is. And it is about,
I think it's the picture of the horse. How do you want to see the horse? And how you then add your equine assisted work. How does that picture of the horse match up with what you are doing in your work?
Yeah,
I think that's an important question. And I'm going to take the opportunity to do some marketing, because we do have a training that we offer to people, the equines in therapy and learning programs. And with this pandemic, we have put the theory of level 1 online. And yesterday we published the level 2 theory, so you can sign up for that one now also. And these are the kind of conversations and discussions we have. And we also have the masterclass that is taking this even to another level, and Marta from Poland involved in that. And then we have your and Jessie's beautiful work on focusing more on the horse side. And you have a stress webinar coming up really soon.
Yep, and the 22nd of April. So that's all available. And because of our passion for making this accessible to more and more people to help find their own way through this, we're definitely working more towards trying to find ways to work with people where they are physically, as well as in this field. So we're trying to find ways to put more opportunities for distance education here to provide options.
Yeah, to keep these discussions alive as well. Like, I firmly believe supporting people in their visions of what they want to do and having the hard discussions, but also we are not the one deciding what people should or should not do. Everybody has a vision of what this is and what they want to achieve, I think. It's just about us figuring out how we can support people in the best way, providing science-based knowledge, looking at best practices in our field, having an overview of the field, the industry, whatever to call it, and diving into all this layered, like the horse and the people and the client and the econ professional, the person, like the one who is expert on humans, and how teamwork looks, and all this, so we can end up in this more congruent place, I think.
Yeah.
That what we do matches what we say.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's so important.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And the only way we're going to get to that is by diving deeper into all of these components.
Yeah, not being afraid of some people's voices, and not being afraid to have the discussions, and not being defensive, and if somebody gets defensive, it's easy to think, okay, somebody feels pressured here. How can we step back and help them again find stability in voicing themselves? So, no judgment. We're all just humans.
Yeah.
I really like the Rumi quote. It's all about walking each other home. And you can apply that to life in general, and you can apply that to the field. Like, we just can support each other, reaching where we want to be.
Yeah.
Then everybody can be right. Nobody is like.
Yeah. And just because this is how I work over here with my horses in this facility and whatever, that does not mean that's how this person has to work.
No. Or that it's not right or wrong, or as long as we dare to look at the equine welfare and putting the client in the center, and taking care of our team, and continue to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yay, a lot of work to do.
A lot of good work. So wonderful. Well, thank you for having this conversation with me.
Yeah. Are we ending for today?
We're going to end, well, I'm ending the recording. So yes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.